Hello. I will be narrating 3 mysterious stories for you tonight. So sit back, relax, and listen. My dog told me he died. My dog was sick, and the only vet was a 2-hour drive from my house in the mountains, so I had to leave him overnight. The vet assured me he would be okay and not to worry. I went home to bed around 4 a.m. I woke up and saw my dog at the foot of my bed, just staring at me. I jumped out of bed and he was gone. I immediately called the veterinary office. It was a 24-hour vet service. When the night shift girl answered and said my dog is dead, I just saw him. She asked me my dog's name, then told me she had just checked his kennel 30 minutes ago and he was fine. I asked her to check again. She came back to the phone a few minutes later and said, "You're right, he's dead." This concludes the end of the first story. If you're having a pleasant experience, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It'll help me to grow and reach a larger audience. Thank you. Elevators freak me out. The first time my mom believed me that weird stuff happened to me regularly. First off, I know this is nothing compared to other stories on here, but I choose to share because why not? Before and after this incident, several other things did continue to happen to me. Strange things. I have just gotten used to it and have learned to appreciate them. So, this was when I was about 8 in 2002. My mom, brother, aunt, and grandma had all traveled to Chicago to see Dinosaur Sue. We had been staying in a hotel nearby for about 5 days. It was very upscale, new, overall nice. Those entire 5 days, my mom would let me run ahead to the elevator when returning to our room from swimming, getting ice, etc., and letting me ride up alone, since our room was right to the left of the elevator when you get off. And my grandma would always have the door cracked. So one day, on the way back from the pool, literally just got out, wet hair, suit, towel, I did the same, ran ahead and entered the elevator. Pressed the button for the 7th floor. There's only one elevator in this hotel, by the way. Once I got to the 7th floor, which I knew by the signs outside the elevator, I went to the second door to the left, like I had maybe 20 times before that week. I knocked and knocked. Nothing. I remember becoming weirdly alarmed at this point. Best way I can describe it, even though I was smart enough to know I could always just return to the lobby, or that my mom would be arriving shortly. So while wondering why my grandma wasn't answering the door, I returned a few feet to the elevator and waited on my mom and brother. I saw on the display that the elevator was arriving on the 7th floor, the floor I was on, which was clearly written on the sign. I see the light and hear the elevator ding. The doors open, empty. At this point, I just feel something is very off, and return to the door, knocking and crying now. Getting cold, because I am still very wet from the pool. Finally, after no more than 1 minute, a very old woman answers the door and says, "Dear, I told you already yesterday, this is not your room." I had never been there yesterday. And then said, "It will be fine. I am very sorry, but I'm on the phone with my son. Give it a few more minutes. Your mother is coming." And freaking closed the door. I was shocked. I knew I was cute. And how could anyone close the door on a crying kid who lost their mother, especially a woman who seemed like the caring grandmother type? Almost immediately after she closed the door, the elevator opened and my mom ran out crying and grabbed me. She was saying, "Oh honey, where were you? I've never been so worried." So then went to open the door. Not our room. She was stunned. The whole time I'm trying to explain, I had been here. And my timeline of events had only been about 5 minutes. Her still hugging and holding me. She kinda just went onto autopilot and went back to the elevator with me. She pressed 7 again. The doors closed super briefly and then reopened. The elevator didn't move at all. Once the door opened, we both saw my grandmother standing in the second door to the left crying, and then very happy, running to hug us. Apparently, I had been missing for 45 minutes. Police were called, every floor had been gone to. They were still in the process of knocking on all doors, opening even locked, vacant rooms. Apparently, my mother had decided to once more go and look at the pool to see if I had returned there. Then, after seeing it empty, she took the same, only elevator back to the 7th. Only this time, out of the multiple other times that day, she found me. And not only that, we were clearly not in the elevator hiding out, as it was the only one. The police and staff had gone up and down the elevator multiple times looking for me. We still talk about it to this day and can't explain. My hair was still wet. The police were kinda pissed off until the hotel staff pulled up the camera, showing me getting into the elevator, but then never getting off. Then, what was the creepiest was that when my mother got on from the lobby, you see her get on, then 10 minutes pass, and she gets off on floor 7 with me in her arm. They went through all the cameras on all floors, which had very clear angles of the elevator on each floor. Nothing. I swear the staff were freaked out, as were the police. They were almost convinced someone had taken me and then became freaked out and left me shortly after. They were stumped as to why my hair was still wet. They couldn't refute the cameras, as they were high resolution, working correctly and everything. I've always wanted to call back and see if they still talk about it years later. I just don't want to mess with it, because it's not like I even see the event as serving a purpose, you know? I have no clue who the woman was, nor was I ever able to identify her. Because for the investigation, even after they found me, they locked down the hotel and all possible exits and had a perimeter. Chicago does not fuck around, by the way, with possible abductions. Every guest in the hotel was more than happy to help. Women from ages 50 and on all willingly let police take photos. Not one of them was the woman. This woman had very blue eyes. Like very. The only possible connection I can think of is that the woman and I had almost identical eyes. I have kind of a rare color for how dark my hair is. I don't know. Where is my kid? I have 4 kids. I know I have 4 kids. But recently, I just feel like there should be another one. But it's missing. When we go out, I head count and get flustered because I can't find the extra one. I have to go consciously remind myself there are only 4. But my heart just doesn't believe it. Well, I just put it down as one of those weird feelings and push it aside. Then, my parents sent money to my kids. They sent $500. I called them and asked why they put in so much. They were confused. They said that they told me they were sending $100 per kid. I reminded them that I only have 4 kids. They were silent for a moment, then just kinda laughed and said they must be getting old, because they were thinking there was 5. Then tonight, my daughter walked in to the lounge room. She looked around and said, "I know we're all here, but our family feels small." My son agreed. I hadn't said anything to anyone about my feelings lately, because they already think I'm ancient and forgetful at 40.